Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. Now, to carry on the recent tradition on my channel where I've been buying the cheapest items from Amazon, I decided to buy the cheapest violin strings that I could find on Amazon. And I kid you not, these were $1. $1 for a full set of violin strings for a full-size violin stroke 3/4 size violin. So these arrived today all the way from China, which I purchased through Amazon. But I mean, $1, I just couldn't not resist buying these for $1. Now I know these are going to be tremendously hideous, but you know, for $1, let's just see what happens. So I have a white violin that I use when I'm kind of traveling around and doing more music videos, so this isn't really worth a lot of money, but I'm going to put these strings on this violin. I've got all the bits and bobs that I'm going to assemble when I use the strings in just a moment. The one thing I'm not going to do with these strings today is I'm not going to put them on my very expensive antique acoustic violin. The reason why I'm not going to do that is because I've literally just replaced the strings I've got on here with a bunch of Parastro strings. So I've got about $200 worth of strings sitting on my violin at the moment, and it's really not very good for violins, expensive violins and strings, to keep taking them off and putting them on. So I'm not gonna put my strings on a very expensive violin because I don't want to ruin the $200 worth of strings that I've got on my violin at the moment, because I just don't want to mess around with those, keep putting them on, keep putting them off, and then it will go out of tune, and then when I'm playing at weddings it will just be a bit of a nightmare for me moving forward. And also I don't think anybody would ever put $1 worth of violin strings on their very expensive acoustic violin. So this is going to be kind of for those of you that just maybe need a spare set of strings. So it's always really good to have a spare set of strings, whatever you're doing. I wouldn't quite go, for me, as low as getting $1 for a set of strings, because professionally it's not going to cut it when people are paying me a lot of money to perform, and I'm performing on kind of subpar strings that could break at any minute. So professionally, no, obviously not. Nobody would do that. But for those of you that are on a very tight budget, I mean, $1, I can't, I mean, let's just find out and see what happens. So, okay, opening them up then. Oh, so they just come in a little packet like that, just all wound up. If you can see that. So that's all we've got. Now, how do you know which is which then? Okay, so interestingly, I have absolutely no idea which string is which. Now, you might not think that's actually an issue, but some of them can be very difficult to identify. So they've literally just come wound up, all four of them like this. Let's untangle them. They're all ball end, by the way. So they all look like that, and they don't feel a great quality, but let's see what happens with them. Okay, so I think, okay, if you get these strings, I'm going to tell you what they are. So the red one is the E string, the green one is the A string, the blue one is the D string, and the black one is the G string. And you can, it's not going to come out on camera, but you can tell by the thickness of the strings which one is which. So that's good, because there's no kind of color code going on there. So, okay, I'm going to put the strings on the violin. Let's see how long it takes me to do that, and let's see how long it takes me to tune them up, and then we'll play them and see what they sound like. First things first. Okay, so I've got all the strings on the violin and I've got the bridge up pretty much where I want it. I'm just going to tune them. I know it might seem over dramatic with my glasses on, but honestly, I'm really not expecting much from these strings at all. The one thing I notice about the E string is that there's no little plastic tubing. Usually you get a plastic tubing, which a lot of people comment on and say, what's that for? But the plastic tubing goes over the kind of where the string meets the bridge to help protect it, so it doesn't kind of go dig into the bridge, and also it doesn't snap as well. So I'm, for $1, it is what it is, isn't it? But I'm not expecting these strings to not break. They would get you through if you were in an absolute bind and you didn't want to spend another $5, $10 on a string so soon. I know a lot of people tuning up, when they get their violin, they tune it up. The first thing they do in the first 5 seconds of getting it out of the box, they snap the E string or snap a string. The reason why you snap strings so quickly is because basically you yank the pegs too much. You've got to tune very, very, very slowly or you will snap them. And the other thing as well is that if you've got a cheaper violin, then you're going to be using very, very, very cheap violin strings, and I don't know how they're doing this for $1. So I am expecting them to snap. In all of my years of playing, in all of my 34 years of playing the violin, I have never ever snapped a string ever whilst tuning, but you know, maybe I might do today, and I don't want to hurt myself, so let's just see what we get for $1. So I've I haven't done anything with them. I'm just going to tune them, but again, you guys that do snap them, it's because you just yank the string up too far, and you've got to do it bit by bit, and it does take a good while to do this. Sometimes it takes around about 20 minutes to tune. So okay, I think we're already enough there for the video anyway. So they're okay to tune. They're fine in the end, but they're not really holding their tune very well. The thing that you pay for with a lot of the other better quality strings is that they stabilize a lot quicker. These just aren't stabilizing because they're going out so much. Admittedly, I don't have fine tuners on here, and you could use the fine tuners, but I mean, they would probably eventually stabilize, but it's just taking a little bit longer than a normal set of string would to actually stabilize. Sound wise, to be honest with you, I don't think you're really going to hear any difference coming out on this camera, because the camera is not going to pick up such nuances as the strings, but so I know the strings aren't in tune again, but for the sake of this video, I'm not going to waste it just tuning up strings again, but this violin isn't the best quality anyway, so you know, I'm hitting some of the other strings just because this isn't the best violin anyway. As I said, this is like my demo violin that I use for videos. I don't actually do any recording with this violin, but as I said, I didn't want to be taking these strings on and off of my very expensive acoustic violin. So you know, I'm not really reviewing this violin as such, but I think in summary, I think the strings are okay. I think there are obviously a lot better strings out there, but I think if you are in a real bind and you've bought a nice set of strings, which you should, because you would notice a huge difference if you bought a set of strings, that I can absolutely guarantee you. But if you've just sort of spent, I don't know, $25 on a set of Presto tonicas, which are fantastic strings for student violins, I would thoroughly recommend putting those on a student violin, because they will liven up the sound, brighten up the sound. The strings won't feel so tinny. It won't kind of feel like you're ice skating over the strings. The strings will have some substance to them. The bow will flow a lot smoother across the strings. They'll be a lot easier to play. You'll get a lot less finger fatigue up here, because these are going to be cutting in. I would imagine these would cut in quite a lot because they're a lot thinner. So you can definitely tell they're a lot less quality. However, if you have just spent $25 on a set of Presto tonicas, they're not going to break or wear out anytime soon. But you never know if they are going to break. If you're a beginner, you accidentally overtune it, the string snaps, you haven't got a string, then you've got to wait to buy one. I would recommend that you get a set of these for $1, just to have sitting in your drawer for an absolute emergency, until you can then replace it with a better one, or want to spend the money on a better one. You know, I realise it's just, you know, it's all a kind of an endless pit of money, this sort of thing. But, you know, these strings aren't the best quality, but they are strings and they do work, and I can't fault them for that. And I think for the money, honestly, I can't fault them. So if you are a beginner, yeah, why not get these? I absolutely would not recommend you put these as standard on your violin, because I can absolutely 100% guarantee you that these are going to be worse, if that's even possible, than the strings that you've got, especially if you've got a kind of a cheap factory student violin. They're probably going to be worse than the factory strings that they put on there, or if not the exact same. So I mean, these are the cheapest strings I've ever seen ever, and like I say, I wouldn't go out to buy them. I would just keep the factory strings. But if you wanted to replace your strings for something better, you could opt for something like Presto tonicas, which are fantastic strings, especially on the cheaper end violins, just to lighten up and brighten the sound and make the whole playing experience a lot better for you, to kind of compensate for the lack of quality that you've got in your violin. That will help a little bit. So there we go. A surprising result, I will admit. I didn't hate them. They weren't the best, and I would recommend them and wouldn't recommend them, but they worked and they didn't take my eyeball out in the process, which is always a plus. So be careful, guys, when you're tuning these. I'm experienced at tuning the violin, obviously, as you know, but with you guys, be very, very careful tuning these strings and any strings as well. Just do it bit by bit. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. Check out the info bar underneath for some more good stuff and website links. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.